Ji, thank you, Padmini ji. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you so much. I'm going to start the recording. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. Over to you.
Thank you, Pallavi ji. Thank you, Gayatri ji and Padmini ji, for a wonderful session. Happy morning, happy evening to all of you. Welcome to today's edition of Bhagavad Gita. Hope you had a blissful day and you offered all the bliss to God. Okay, we'll have a quick recap of that concept today as well, and then get on to the third tenet that we've been discussing in this series of Karm Yoga. So again, a very warm welcome. Let's get started with our opening prayers to invoke the blessings of God and Guru. I'll share my screen and we will get started. You able to see my screen?
Yes.
Right. Okay, let's start with invoking the blessings of God and Guru. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Ishwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsajanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening once again. Let's get started. Sloka 2.47 that we are on. I'm going to recite it and then you're welcome to follow, and then we'll get started. Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturvu ma te sangostva karmani. All right, Pallavi, do we have any volunteers who want to?
Yeah. Radhe Radhe, please raise your hand. Oh, I see a couple of hands raised. Shyam ji, Radhe Radhe. You're the first one today.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you so much. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalheturvhu ma te sangostva karmani. Radhe Radhe.
Nice, Shyamji. Radhe Radhe.
Sandhya ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भू मा ते संगोऽस्त्व कर्मणि.
Very nice, Sandhya. Wonderful.
Manish ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Nishi.
Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phal heturvu ma te sangostu karmani. Radhe Radhe.
Manishi, Radhe Radhe. Okay, I can see.
Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phal heturvur ma te sango swakarmani.
Very nice, Rahul.
Riya ji. Yeah.
Hal will be the only correction. Yeah, Riya ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana मा कर्म फला हेतुर्भुर् मा ते संगो स्वकर्मणि. Radhe Radhe.
Riyaji, Radhe Radhe. I think the traffic policeman blew the whistle as well when you were reciting.
I'm in the garden.
Okay. Okay.
Dinesh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
Karmanevadhikaroste ma phalesu kadachana ma karma phala heturbu ma te sango swakarmani. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice, Radhe Radhe. Very nice.
Pratya ji, Radhe Radhe. Yeah,
Radhe
please go
Radhe.
ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भुर् मा ते संगोऽस्ते कर्मणि.
Very nice. Okay. Karma phal heturbu. Very nice. All right, let's take a couple of more hands.
Swati ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Swati ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फले हेतुर्भुर्माते संगोऽस्त्वा कर्मण्य.
Thank you, Swati ji. Okay, let's take maybe a few more hands and then we'll get started. We're going to have an interesting discussion today.
Yeah, Aarti ji.
And also the bliss and the happiness part of it as well, a little bit. Yes,
Aarti ji, yeah, go ahead, Radhe Radhe. Yeah.
Aarti ji, thank you, Aarti ji. Very nice. Your audio breaks a little bit, so you may want to check what's going on with your audio. Okay, two more hands and then we'll get started.
Yes. Lakshmi ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Karmanevadhikaraste ma phalesu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhuh ma te sango swakarmani.
Thank
Radhe
you.
Radhe.
Your audio is also a little shaky today, so you have to check that.
Yeah. No, I'm traveling, so
Okay.
that's why I stopped the video.
All right. Now I can see bus and there is one of the
Yeah.
passengers also. I think she seems happy listening to this shloka. So let's take two more hands and then we'll get started.
Ashutosh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफल हेतुर्भुर् मा ते संगोऽस्त्वकर्मणि.
Wonderful, Ashutosh ji. Ashutosh ji, you've been really inspiring. I see you end your day by singing a Bhakti Shatak verse and then you start your day by reciting Bhagavad Gita. So Ashutosh is pretty amazing these days. Wonderful. Let's take the last one and then we'll get started.
Yeah, Golab ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
राधे राधे सभी को.
Radhe
राधे एवरीवन.
राधे राधे आपको भी.
कर्मेण व्याधिकरस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फल हेतुर्मा ते मंगस्तु कर्मणि.
All right, Golabji, thank you. So let's get started. This shloka we've been discussing says Lord Krishna is saying you have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you're not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities, nor be attached to inaction. 2.47 warrants or demands a 24/7 contemplation on it. That is how important this shloka is. Okay, so let's get started. We will do a quick recap of the concept which we discussed yesterday. I have qualified the happiness that we spoke about yesterday as material because it can cause a bit of a confusion, right? People think, okay, if I'm getting happy, is it good or is it bad? You know, is God saying that shun the happiness and stuff like that? So let's try to put it in a little bit more perspective today, just to recap some of the concepts that we discussed, and then we'll get started. So the material happiness that we talk about, right? It basically, when we go overboard on either end, when we think, yes, we have done it, and kind of those kind of emotions that we feel, or we think, we deeply contemplate on something as a source of happiness in the material world, we are in a way gaining momentum to go to the other extreme as well. And that is why Lord Krishna is explaining us to stay equanimous around it, because we will see the nature of this kind of a happiness and some of the attributes associated with it. And we don't need a proof for that. Our own experience will tell us that. So the lesser the amplitude we have on either side, the better off we are. That doesn't mean we become dull and boring and shun happiness and all that stuff. It's just that you have chosen a more lasting joy as opposed to a temporary agitation of mind. That's essentially what it means. More lasting joy and working towards that joy as opposed to that temporary thrill, agitation that mind creates and considering it as happiness. That's all Lord Krishna is saying. Start building that reservoir of joy within you by aligning to this principle, as opposed to going for that short-term gain, short-term thrill, like just like a roller coaster, just a thrill and then you're back. Right? So that can happen. And basic other thing of it is that it's this material happiness that we're talking about. It's actually Akate Niyam. Maharajji explains that whichever thing that we deeply contemplate happiness upon eventually becomes the cause of misery as well, because that happiness is not sustainable, and then losing that happiness, it becomes a cause of misery for us as well. You got to be very careful, especially when we start contemplating real happiness in any material thing around us. Could be relation, could be something, could be attachment to prestige, money, whatever it is, because nothing of that is perpetual. Plus, it has certain attributes which do not qualify for real happiness, is what we are talking about. So now let's look at this concept of fruit, right? So there are two kinds of fruits, Preyas and Shreyas fruit, as you see. So let's say this is us holding this fruit, and on the other side we have God. Okay. Now, if what Lord Krishna is saying, offer the fruit to me. Okay. So if we offer it to God, something happens, and if we don't offer, something happens. Now, if we offer it to God, we'll get into that. And if we don't offer, then God returns the fruit back to us. Okay, and that fruit is in form of karma, because we have actually done a binding karma now. Now, if what you have done is a noble deed that you have enjoyed for yourself, thinking of yourself to be the doer and thinking, okay, I need to, relish it basically because I have done it. Then it is the binding karma. And you get the meritorious deed for it because it's a good karma. Obviously, you'll get a good result for that. And if you've done something bad and still holding it for yourself, let's say you cheated somebody and you're taking that money for your own advantage, buying a car, buying a house, going out for a vacation, by cheating somebody, then you get the fruit of karma in that way as well. And furthermore, if this kind of a happiness that we get, it's temporary happiness, obviously it gives us an immediate kick around it. It is called Preyas happiness, short-term happiness. What God is telling us to start working towards Shreyas happiness, more lasting and long-term happiness. In this case, you have gained that happiness which has appealed to your mind, intellect, senses. Very short. But God is talking about get a lasting happiness, which not only extends in long term in this life, but also goes beyond this lifetime. Go for that happiness as opposed to this temporary happiness, which is anyway going to be short lasting. It will basically, this concept that there is happiness in this world will get firmly entrenched in our mind if we continue going for that. That mindset itself will tell us, no, there is happiness in this world. I get kick whenever I enjoy, the fruits of my own actions. So that becomes your Preyas happiness. Shreyas is more lasting. It's like that Amle ka swad, right? There is a quotation which talks about that. Initially, it is bitter and over time it becomes sweet. So Shreyas happiness is what God is asking us to go for, not for the happiness that we get from chocolate or ice cream. It gives us a kick, but then in long term, it is not good for us. Let's look at it, this material happiness that we are trying to go for a little bit in a perspective as well, right? Its nature is temporary. We're not going to get deeper into that concept. It's not everlasting, not fresh, diminishing returns and all that stuff. And even the quality of it is, like I said, immediate kick, but does not give us lasting peace. On the other hand, when we start offering it to God, see, the happiness is directly proportional to the cleanliness of our antakaran. And God is giving us a formula to cleanse it as opposed to bind it further. Right? When we are enjoying the fruit of our action, we are actually binding it further, because now we are actually not attaching it to God or offering the fruit to Him. When we start offering the fruit to Him, it works on our antakaran as well. And the cleaner it becomes, the more sense of happiness, real happiness, we'll start feeling. So He's given us a formula for that as well. Attach is giving us a reason for us to attach it to Him, with proper knowledge that end of the day, He's giving us the energy to do everything. So when you start offering the fruit, you will get lasting peace and happiness, as opposed to that temporary thing that you want to ride over. Let's look at it through an example of material happiness, right? It's a beautiful. Swamiji has his own way. Sometimes I wonder, I asked him that you come up with your own jokes or you read it somewhere, and he started laughing. So his experience basically, see, it reflects on the power of, how deeply he can contemplate and understand some of these concepts and present it in a very nice, humorous way, so that the concept is clear. So if you look at this boy or this guy, he's actually limping, right? So Swamiji said, I met a guy and he was limping. So you would wonder, you would ask this person, what happened? Did you lose a shoe? And this boy replies back, no, I actually found a shoe. Okay, so he's found a shoe and is willing to tolerate that pain, because that's enjoyment for him. Something new is gotten. And same thing is the happiness that we are trying to extract from this material world. All we need to do is reject this, which we think is a cause for happiness, for us is actually a cause for misery. So if this boy simply rejects this shoe, obviously the peace and the joy would come back and he doesn't have to limp. So that is the thing. We are not able to reject that. We think, no, we need to hang on to it and it will give us happiness. So God tells us, just try it out. Another story, beautiful story that he tells us about a guy. He goes to his Guruji and says, hey, I'm not happy. So his Guruji says, okay, I'll give you a formula for your happiness. Why don't you sell off all your belongings, collect it as a coin and bring it to me? So he said, okay, anything, Guruji, for you. If I can buy happiness with these gold coins, why not? So he sells off all his stuff, put it in a bag and brings it to his Guruji. Guruji snatches it away from him and starts running. And he said, what kind of a Guruji? At least, I thought I'm going to get happiness through these gold coins, my lifetime earnings, and now I'm losing that as well. So Guruji starts running and this guy starts chasing him. Guruji is pretty fast, okay? He starts dodging him here and there. But finally, somehow, with heavy breaths, this guy catches up with his Guruji and snatches this gold coin, from him. And then Guruji asks him, are you happy now? He said, yes. So the happiness was always there. It's just that object always existed with him, but he was not happy. Now, after reclaiming it, he started becoming happy. So that is why when we forget about the graces and start contemplating happiness on something else, right, like living, then obviously it's never going to be a never-ending battle. What Lord Krishna is saying is, rather than going for these short-term gains, thrills that you get from enjoying the fruits of your action because you think you are doing it and you deserve it, go for a more lasting one. Start cleansing your antakaran, okay? And that would happen when you offer your fruits to God. It will have that effect. It's just like putting something to fire. Will fire become impure? No. Thing will become pure. So when you start offering those fruits, some of the examples we looked at it, right? Somebody praises you, you taste material success, you get an elevated stature in life where you can earn more. Everything can be dovetailed. Okay, God, you have given me these talents. I will serve to the best of my ability to you. I can earn more so that I can give more. But our mindset becomes, if I can earn more, I'm going to keep on raising the standard of my living. Okay, previously I had Maruti, now I'm going to get a Jaguar, right? And then a yacht and then an aeroplane possibly. That mindset, God says, just correct that. That's all he's saying. It doesn't mean you become upset or everything. If you enjoy a Rasgulla, so be it. But end of the day, if just enjoying Rasgulla becomes the aim of our life, then it's a problem. That's what God is saying. Right? It's like, okay, if I'm eating food, I can nourish myself because this body is a vehicle for me to go, so that I can take care of you, I can do devotion for you. I'm cooking well because, it's like I'm going to offer bhog to you, and I want to make sure whatever I do is done to the best of my ability. Lata Mangeshkar said, I used to sing thinking that if I don't sing it to the best of my ability, this talent may be it's given to her by God, and she wants to do justice to it. So everything mindset can actually become like that. You want to do your job well because it gives you the paycheck, right? To pay for your EMIs and stuff like that. So you want to take care of it so that you can be responsible around things, obligations that you have, so that you can focus on devotion without having to worry about where the next meal would come on the table. So everything can actually be channelized. So it's just the switch in the mindset God is talking about, so that it purifies you. And the more purified you become, automatically your soul, which is Anusat, Anuchit, Anu, Anand, will shine forth. And the closer we are to our soul, the more layers we have peeled around it, the more bliss we will feel. It's an automatic consequence of that. It's just like a mirror is there. When you start removing the layers of dust around it, the mirror will start shining. Right? And similarly, when our soul starts shining, you have to feel bliss. You will feel bliss from within. That fountain of bliss that can come from within, it can only be experienced. Right? The bliss from devotion can only be experienced. In Narad Bhakti Darshan, it says, it's just like a gunga or a dumb person trying to explain jalebi. Can you do that? No, it's a matter of experience. If you were to tell somebody, I'm hungry, and somebody asks you, how hungry are you? How will you explain that? It's a matter of experience. Similarly, when you start putting these practices into motion, the bliss, joy, peace, thrill that you feel from within is a matter of experience. And proof is in the pudding. You follow the hypothesis that Lord Krishna is telling, and if it doesn't work for you in a month, reject it, like we reject things in science. If it works for you, hang on to it. It's as simple as that, like any other thing in life. Try it out. So let's move on to the next concept now, which talks about the third tenet or the principle that we are going to discuss today, which is going to be, even while working, give up the pride of doership. Now, what is, it's like, Krishna, give me a break. First of all, you say, you have a free will. Then you say, give up the pride of doership. If I give the pride of doership, then you are the doer. If you are the doer, then why should I bear the fruit of my, karma? It's like, galti kare Ramesh and saza bhukte Dinesh, right? What's going on here, right? It can confuse a lot. So let's understand this concept. When Lord says that, give up the pride of doership, it's a very important concept to understand, and we're going to have a bit of a discussion on this, just so that it becomes rock solid in our head. So when we have a free will to choose actions, why are we not the doers, is the question. So let's get into this concept now. So from this confused looks, we are going to have an assured look by the end of this session. Okay, now let's get into it. Now, what is kartrittvabhiman? Kartrittvabhiman. Okay, this is where the game begins. This is the ego of being the doer. I did it. How great I am. I helped that person, and even after me helping that person, the person said like this to me. But I have always been like that to people. I don't know why people do that. So that ego here and will remain, obviously. Ego is the first thing to come, last to leave. But ego is also can be dovetailed. It's just like Kanta, what do you call, thorn. Using this ego, we have to work on our ego, and finally that ego will dispel. It's the last thing to go. It's like that thorn. If there is a thorn which is stuck in our flesh, we need another thorn to take it out. And once that thorn is taken out, both thorns can be rejected. So ego is little bit like that. Ego, another acronym, beautiful acronym for ego that Swamiji gives is edging God out. Whenever we talk about me, myself, God says, all right, be my guest, I'll take a back seat now. So it's that ego of being the doer. Now, in this shloka, he's saying, Arjun, never to chase after preconceived motives attached to his actions, nor consider himself as the cause of the results of his action. I am not the cause of the results of my action. because the fruit are a function of so many things, and the fruit dispenser is God. So if you think, I had worked really hard for it and I deserved it, I'm entitled for it, that's not the right way of understanding. It's the God. He gives us the result. If he doesn't, basically, because of so many other factors at play, we do not get that. So we have to understand, keep that at the back of our mind. Furthermore, now here is another reference from a Sanskrit verse. I'm not going to do that. Basically, what it says is, whatever I have achieved, whatever I wish to achieve, I am not the doer of these. O Madhusudan, you are the real doer, and you alone are the enjoyer of their results. Now this can start, that's where the confusion starts. You are the doer and the enjoyer of the results. Yes, God is the supreme enjoyer. Now he's saying you are the doer. So let's look at it, why we are calling God as the doer. Why we are not the doers. So when somebody lifts coal using a tong, are tongs the doers of the action? No, they are not. So if God did not supply our body-mind mechanism with the power to perform action, then our body, mind, and senses, they are made up of 5 elements. Panch Tanmatras and Panch Mahabhut come out of it, which are inert in themselves. And God is simply energizes them and puts it at our disposal for us to use it for a purpose. So they are inert, they are energized by God's energy. Right? When we say somebody passes away, who passes away? That energy, that Atma goes away. Atma is energized by Paramatma. Body is still lying there. Can body work on its own? It cannot. So there is a source which is resulting in that inert thing to become energized. So we have to go back to the source. Let's look at through another example to drive home this point. So first of all, let's understand we cannot perform anything unless we tap into that energy, right? It's like that powerhouse. Can a fan move on its own? It cannot, unless there is an electric supply it is connected to. Similarly, our mind, body, nothing can work unless it is energized by the power of God. Okay, let's look at that hierarchy. Now, how do we perform actions? We perform actions through our mind, body, intellect complex, right? And our gunas, they drive us to that end. Right? This question is also we're going to tackle. I think Shruti had asked, are we subservient to our gunas? We'll look at this concept as well. So this is how we perform action, using our mind, senses, right? Now, how are these energized? Let's look at it. So who dictates our actions? It's our mind and intellect which dictates our actions. My hand, can it go and grab something and put it in mouth? Unless our mind and intellect have sanctioned it, it will not. So our mind and intellect dictates our action. Let's understand, follow this hierarchy. What energizes our mind, intellect, senses, and karm indriyas? It is the soul, the jivatma residing within, which is energizing it. When it passes out of the body, we call it death. It is energizing it. The story doesn't end here. What energizes our soul? It is the super soul or the Paramatma or the God. It is actually energizing. So if you trace it back, this whole concept, the energy is coming from God. It is coming from God and directed by the gunas, inspired by jivatmas, we make choices. However, Paramatma is agnostic to whatever action is performed. Let's understand, the source is God. However, he's not dictating what we end up doing with it. Okay? He's agnostic to that. It's like electricity will continue giving its supply. Now, whether you use it to run a fan or to electrocute somebody, electricity is not going to discriminate between that. It's like water. If water falls in Swati Nakshatra on an oyster, it becomes a pearl. If it falls on a hot tawa, then it becomes a vapor. If it falls on a cactus seed, it becomes cactus. If it falls on mud, basically this dirty place, it becomes mud. So is this dictated by the water? It's dictated by the vessel. on which it is falling. Similarly, God is the source of energy. It is giving you the energy, but it is not dictating what you do with the energy. That is where the free will comes. Part of that is dictated by our gunas. Part of it is dictated by our free will. So let's look at it through an example, just so that it becomes a little more clear. This slide is just to drive home the point that the source of energy for any action that we do is coming from God. If this concept is clear, let's understand it now. The tendencies or the actions we perform using that energy. Let's look at it through an example so that we understand it, the nature, gunas, and all those concepts. If you have any questions, please let me know. It's an important concept to understand. Now let's look at this robber. This robber, he robs a house. And on robbing a house, the thought that comes to his mind is, wow, I got a bountiful for myself today. About time I plan another robbery. Right? A lot of thieves, when they are in a jail, they are planning the next robbery even there. That is their tendency. Right? That, okay, once I'll get out, I will take revenge from this guy and then rob this guy. So they're planning that also. So this is born out of tamas. That is their nature. That is born out of tamas. However, he could also have a thought, that aha moment where he think, hey, what am I doing? I should put it back. I would not like somebody else to steal my own hard-earned money. That thought can also come. That means all of a sudden he's got a sattva manifestation of his guna. It can happen too. Or he may have a Robin Hood movement. He'll say, let me become Robin Hood. I'll help the poor 50 and rest 50 for my enjoyment. That can also happen. Now it is born out of Rajas. All these three choices he has. God is not dictating. Obviously, the energy for him to perform that act is coming from God. Because if God leaves that, he'll not have that. But he definitely has all these three choices. Now, if you look at it, these three choices are dictated by the Prakriti, energized by God, and his sanskars. Now, if robbery is the only thing he's done all his life, obviously he will have those kind of sanskars, and that is why these gunas are actually propelling him to action. Now, the choices that he's making is dictated by the predominant guna at any point in time. Right? These gunas also have an interplay. Sometimes we feel inspired, sometimes we feel, it is a drag basically, and sometimes those gunas, they keep on fluctuating. So depending upon which guna is dominant at that point, he could have any of these thoughts. Now, the key thing here to understand is he's not obliged to follow one of these. He can actually override it by his free will. And that free will is actually inspired by Jivatma. And you can align your free will to God's will only when you have armed your intellect with proper knowledge. Your tendency, you have an ability to override your tendency. You will very well have that capability. Your tendency might tell you to take it easy. But through your free will, you can say, no, I will not take it easy. I'm going to, work hard or do this or do that because it is important for me. And it is inspired by Jivatma. So until Jivatma is fully surrendered to God, we are not surrendered yet. Only when it is fully surrendered to God, God becomes the inspirer and takes control. Then you can say, I'm not the doer, God is the doer. Okay. Like Arjun, in case of Arjun, he was directing Lord Krishna initially, but finally he said, you take control of my reins. You tell me where to go, whom to shoot. I will do that. And that is when Krishna took control. When you become Sharanagat, so saints can say, it's all God who does that, right? Like yesterday, I think Kumarji was telling about that movie Aks, where that villain, Mr. Manoj Vajpayee, say, Karta main nahi, koi karata hai. Only a saint can say that because they are fully surrendered. God takes complete control only when we are surrendered. Until then, he may inspire us from time to time, but he has not yet taken control. So we need to harbor an attitude. Let's understand it now. Now, the acts we end up doing in our life through our free will or a combination of our gunas are always going to be a mixed bag. Great acts, not so great acts, bad acts. Are we the doer of all? Is God doer of the all? It's somewhere in between. That is how we have to look at it. The God is the doer when we are completely surrendered. Only a saint can say that. Until then, we will do good deeds, we'll do bad deeds. How do we see those in perspective? Am I the doer? Am I not the doer in those cases? Let's look at that now. So if we are responsible for our actions, again, going back to the time, we have to bear our own karmas. And how does God become the doer? Because God energizes the soul. That is why, as a figure of speech, we say God is the doer. They are insentient. So we give credit to God that because of your energy, I have this ability to do anything. That is why at the end of the day, it's God is doing it. However, like we looked at this concept, our scriptures say there is one prayojak karta and one is prayojya karta. Prayojak karta is one who provides the power and energy. God is prayojak karta. He's providing us the energy. He's the facilitator. And prayojya karta is one who utilizes that energy. We are the prayojya karta, right? For example, if you look at this fan is not moving all by itself. There is a source which is enabling it. So you go back to the source and give the credit there. But now if you end up doing bad things, would you give credit to God for that as well? No, we don't. So the real way of looking at it is, let's get into that. It is an important concept to understand now. The prayojak karta and the prayojya karta. Now we bear the fruits of our karma while we are saying God is the doer. Now, how do we reconcile this gap? So let's have a bit of a discussion, and I have picked up a topic here. Without God's will, even a leaf can't move. This is a very important concept. In India, everybody says that Bhagwan ki marzi ke bina patta bhi nahi hilta. How do we reconcile this concept then? Who's the doer here? Is the God doer because he provides the energy, or are we the doers? Because if God is the doer, then why do we get the result of our actions or of our karmas? Let's hear from any participants if they want to add on to that, because it's a very important concept. It needs to be understood in perspective, because when our foundation is solid with Tattva Gyan, then we can progress faster. Otherwise, we will keep living with those ambiguous concepts and pull it out at a moment where it can confuse others as well. So it's a very important concept to understand. So let's have a bit of a discussion on this. Yes, I can see.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Yes, Pragya, go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin, Pallavi, and everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, it's a very important concept when knowingly and unknowingly, especially in India, हम हमेशा कहते हैं भगवान जब चाहेगा तब वो करा लेगा. And yeah, we end up giving up, like, just sitting idle. So what I understand from the question that you have put here, भगवान के will के बिना एक पत्ता भी नहीं हिलता. So yeah, that's true that Bhagwan ke will ke bina ek patta bhi nahi hilta. But what is that will? He is giving that energy. He is energizing. How we use that energy is where our free will comes into action. अगर भगवान ये सारे कर्म के करता है, तो ये साधना, ये knowledge, but everything would have been, the world would have been a golok. We were not in this Maya lok. अगर भगवान ही सब कर्म के करता है and he is that supreme all perfect being, तो कुछ भी खराब हो ही नहीं सकता world में. So how come everyone is so different with different propensities, different sanskars, different karmas, so much so कि हमारा दो thumb का fingerprint भी एक नहीं रहता है. That much
Oh, you got on mute.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I was talking a lot, so I was muted. Yeah. So I don't know till where I have spoken.
So yeah. So God, then in this particular shloka, God is saying, don't consider yourself to be the doer.
Yeah, so I think, what for my understanding, I think, is the energy part. He's energizing, like the powerhouse from an electricity board. The power is coming in the house, how we are using that power, whether we run the appliances or whether to know it yourself, that is up to us. And sanskar also plays a very important role in our doership. When you were citing that example of a robber, but another example from Swamiji or Maharaj's lecture came to my mind of how a poor Brahmin who had to marry his 3 daughters, and he just didn't know where to get the wealth from. वो Raja Bhoj, he thought of doing some robbery in Raja Bhoj kingdom. Sorry, I'll just say one more line. But how, since he was a Pandit and he had a lot of Tattva Gyan, so every time he was trying to steal something, some shloka and some Gyan would surface and that would stop him from doing it. So yeah, sanskar, knowledge, everything plays a very important role when it comes to doership. Thank you, Radhe Radhe. I don't want to exceed your time.
No worries. Beautiful points. Very true. So yes, when the God is saying don't consider yourself as the doer, it's like when you need to basically see things in perspective. It's because of God's energy he has enabled you. Now, there's a very interesting quotation I had heard in this. I was reading this book. It really struck chord with me. There's a book called Conversations with God. It doesn't mean this guy was talking to God, okay? So don't go around thinking that is the case. But it could have been a dialogue between a guy and a very elevated soul. But one thing that struck chord with me was this concept of saying that the energy is agnostic of the use that you put it to. So in that, apparently God, he says this to this guy that your will is my will. But that doesn't mean my will was yours. Okay, so let's think about it. He's going to support you no matter what you do. It's not like I'm going to cut the power supply if you're going to do a bad thing. Yeah, there will be consequences. That power supply comes at a cost. The bill will be sent to you in forms of karma. That bill will be slapped to you in form of karma. Now, through our free will is something, it's a symptom of the soul. I had asked Swamiji, free will, does it come from our mind and intellect? Or is it something much deeper? He said free will is a symptom of our soul. And that free will can only be exercised better, aligning to the principles, when we are armed ourselves with the right kind of knowledge. Mind and intellect will always be dictated by our past sanskars. And those manifest in form of the gunas that we have. Some people have a criminal tendency. Some have live life in a mode of goodness. Some live life in a mode of, majority in the mode of passion. Enjoy, YOLO, right? I was talking about yesterday. YOLO are all Rajas category people. Sattva are there in the mode of goodness, calm, tranquil. These gunas keep on switching, fluctuating, but there is a dominant guna in everybody. But that free will is so powerful that it can override those gunas. Because if it could not, then we would be stuck in those gunas always. I am born with the dominant tamas, and I will perpetuate that tamas by doing more of tamas. So God says, no, you are not stuck in that. You can actually transcend that. So when he says, don't consider yourself to be the doer, he's telling, think of where the source is coming from and you offer it to it. And the right way to do that is, when I said, what will be the right mindset to actually do that? It is, I think Rahul can talk more about that, the window movement and the mirror movement in those cases, because we will always do good and bad in this life. Then how do we so that when we consider do something bad, do we say, God, you are the doer, I offer it to you? No. We take responsibility for it. We look at the mirror that I am responsible for it. I did it. I need to work better on it. God, give me strength and wisdom so that I get better at these kind of things. When we do good, we offer it to God. It's a window movement that, okay, God, you enabled me. Thank you so much for that. So that wisdom we need to exercise throughout. And that means we are aligning to this third tenet or the principle of Karm Yoga when we do that. Take responsibility for all the bad things that we do, which will happen from time to time. Give credit to God because he is enabling us. There's another interesting English quotation I had heard that inspiration is, coincidence is God choosing to remain anonymous, and inspiration is God choosing to reveal himself. So when we feel inspired at times to help somebody, God might be turning the key a little bit, right? He will not manifest that, hey, I'm Krishna, can I help you? He will inspire somebody and use you as an instrument. We have to understand that part. It will happen in life from time to time. And at that moment, if we have simply taken a credit for ourselves, hey, how great I am, I helped this, and tell 5 other people around, you know what, I helped this person, then you have forfeited an opportunity to align to this principle of Karma Yoga. It's like a silent thank you, gratitude to God, that thank you for choosing me as an instrument. You considered me worthy enough to, enable help for that guy. Thank you so much for that. And that is the way to go. And if we do that, we have aligned to this principle. It's as simple as that. Okay, let's hear if somebody else has.
Beautifully said. I saw Samji hand raised before as well, so I would like to take her. I think she has been waiting for quite some time.
Sure.
Samji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Samji, you will get the Shreyas happiness, okay? Because you waited, because sabr ka phal meetha hota hai. I hope I can answer.
Sabr ka phal meetha hota hai.
Thank you. So in Bhagavad Gita, somewhere, I don't remember the slok, Krishna says that when you see others' miseries, feel them as your own. Like he was telling the qualities of devotees, I think. So so how should we feel? I mean, in such we also see people suffering from miseries, but then we also know that we are all souls. So how to apply that statement of Krishna?
When you see others' misery, consider it as your own. You're saying, is it directly from?
Yes, I mean, yeah.
WhatsApp Gita Gyan.
I don't remember exactly. Sorry.
Okay. So
in everyone, I am present. So if they are unhappy, see with your own self, and you feel sympathetic towards them, or something like that. He says. No, but then we also know that we are souls. So how can we apply on bodily platform?
First of all, direct reference to this kind of a shloka is not there, as far as I know that. Karuna has been told as one of the gunas that we need to have. Empathy, looking at it in perspective. But yeah, there's a lot of things which are attributed. If somebody wants to propagate a message, all they need to say in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that, and blah, 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 and it will start circulating, and people will also accept it, right? I've seen a lot of that Gita Gyan there as well. But then Karuna, part of it, when you talk about it, it has to be seen in perspective as well. What Lord Krishna says is detached attachment. You don't start basically pitting. Pity is not a good emotion there as well. Yes, when it comes to being empathetic, helping others, that Devic gunas are there. That needs to be done, but you don't get attached to it. Mother Teresa was also serving people. Was she attached to each and every person? No. You can serve people, you can help people without getting attached to them. And that is where you have to rise above the material way of thinking or extending help. That is what Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. So Dan, Tap, Gyan Arjan, all these things have to be practiced regardless. Right? If somebody is sinking and you see somebody is sinking and you say, hey, it's your karma, none of my business. The Bhagavad Gita is not telling us that. He's saying, go ahead and help that person. But then beyond that, if you start thinking, I have to, you just take it a little too far, where you start getting attached to that whole process and then thinking I'm the doer, and then telling people I help this person, or you getting attached to that act itself, then it's a problematic thing. But yeah, we need to help people. We need to align to the principles of empathizing, helping, doing charity, forgiving. All that stuff has to be done with proper perspective, that I'm aligning to these principles enabled to me through God, as opposed to getting attached to the act itself. Right? When Mother Teresa was asked, how do you get yourself to serve these despicable people, she said, I'm actually serving God through serving them. So she was not thinking, oh, how bad this guy is, poor guy, this, that. She was actually putting her best, but that was her means to serve Jesus. So we have to align to the higher principle, that thank you, God, for giving me this opportunity, and give me more of it so that I can help more people. And if we can tap into divine, connect to divine, even during those acts, that is essentially what Lord Krishna is telling us. Otherwise, it can fuel pride. Like you may start deriving a little bit of pleasure out of that act, or pitting somebody, which is not needed. Compassion can be done even without pitting. Need to pity somebody to have compassion.
Beautifully explained. Yeah.
You can be, like they say, right? You can be firm and at the same time gentle. Same way you can be compassionate without really being pitiable. You just understand it from a higher perspective. That's all it is.
Yeah. So a very beautiful couplet that Ashutosh ji has shared. So I would like to just quickly read through that. सौंप दो इनके हाथों में डोरी, यह कृपालु है, तंग दिल नहीं है. लाखों महफिल जहां में यूं तो तेरी महफिल सी महफिल नहीं है.
Wonderful. And I think you can sing it as well, Ashutosh ji. I've heard this bhajan. Lakho mehfil jahan mein यूं तो. Yeah, you can sing it
So
as
is it a part of bhajan somewhere or bhakti shatak? No.
it is part of the bhajan. We have beautiful bhajans playing on Sunday. It's a very beautiful. Lakho
Oh, okay.
jahan mein यूं तो तेरी महफिल सी महफिल नहीं है. It's a beautiful bhajan.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Sing that bhajan.
Very beautiful. Yeah.
So very nice, Ashutosh ji.
And Manish ji wanted to take a screenshot of the previous screen.
Sure. This one?
Manish ji, I think before that one.
This one?
Yes. Manish ji, is this the one you wanted? Please take a screenshot. Yeah.
I'll try to put a better robber next time. Okay.
And everyone, the feedback tracker, the link to feedback tracker is in the chat. Please post your comments, feedback, questions in the feedback tracker.
I want to reminder that tomorrow's session is not on. I'll see you on Monday. Due to unavoidable circumstances, we'll have to cancel tomorrow's call. But I look forward to seeing you Monday. Other sessions are there. I think mind management is there, and then there's a prayer session. I don't know which one is that. They'll be on, so you're welcome to follow those. But I'll see you on Monday. We'll conclude this session. We still have one more concept to cover, and then we will put it all together. The whole concept of Karm Yug that we discussed. And Swamiji's retreats are starting. Family camp, of course, that is there in June. But if you're in US, check out his schedule. If we have that, we can post it.
Yeah, I'm going to post the link. It is jkyog.org/events. I'm going to post it in the chat. But there are a series of events going to be there. Swamiji is taking tour in US, so please take advantage of that opportunity. Yeah.
You can meet him in person. That will be wonderful. And he's going to be in Philadelphia and a lot of other places. Do check out that schedule. We'll post group as well.
I can quickly share the announcement also about that, Nitinji. Okay. Meanwhile, I'll find the flyer. How about we can go ahead with Preeti ji? Preeti ji, Radhe Radhe. Yeah.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Nitinji, Radhe Radhe ji and everything. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yeah.
So Nitinji, this is about Bhagwan ki marzi ke bina patta bhi nahi hilta. I was just thinking, if there is a leaf which falls down into a pond and it helps an ant to float to the safety. And there is a leaf which falls into the pond, goes ahead without creating any kind of ripples here and there in the world, and perishes in the grand scheme of time. So the prior leaf which supported the ant to float to the shore would be the one supported by God. I hope these are my 2 cents.
Possibly God is taking control of leaf as well at times to time. But yeah, the real, that's true. Could be God, everything is possible. He can do that. But the real way of understanding this one is not that only God desires and then things happen. We could be exercising our free will as well. Right? We cannot put everything on God. When we say Bhagwan ki marzi ke bina patta bhi nahi hilta, basically that means that he's energizing everything, not that he's dictating everything necessarily.
True. So probably the leaf that supported the plant to float to safety decided to do something meaningful with their life. That was what I meant to say. Yeah.
Possibly, but yeah, because when this particular saying is used, especially in India, it's like everything is put on God. That's not the right way of understanding it. It's like even if like when we say, right, we have to Vaishno Devi, when will we go? When Mata Rani ka bulawa aayega. We put it back on God itself. So it is called Ishwar Tushti in our scriptures. Ishwar Tushti, there are other Tushtis as well. Kal Tushti, then there is what is called that Santushti. There are 2 more. I forgot that. So basically there are 2 things that we need to watch out against. One is when God will desire, it will happen. No. If that is the case, Bhagavad Gita is not needed. Krishna desires us to be perfect. He will simply say, okay, don't worry, I'll do it for you, and Bhagavad Gita is over. That is one concept we need to watch against, that only when God will desire, it will happen. No. You have to make that choice. Why God will have to desire? He'll desire it for everybody. He's a very compassionate father, right? Why would he desire it for one and not for another? That is one step. Second is Kal Tushti, that we very conveniently do in our lives. When the time will come, it will happen. Kal Tushti is when we leave it to time. We have to do it. God is waiting for us, basically. So these two tushtis we need to watch against, that we give a very convenient excuse to ourselves. When time will come, it will anyway happen. When God will desire, it will happen. So we have to do that. So take control and take accountability for your actions is what God is telling us, as opposed to leaving it to time, leaving it to God. God has to desire, then he'll make it all perfect, right? In one shot, what's a big deal? But then that's not the whole idea. Idea is we have to earn it, because we'll not be able to value it otherwise. A millionaire cannot share his wealth with a kid who doesn't know how to spend it wisely or to know the value of it. So same thing happens with God. That is why I say it may seem like an arduous, painful process, but when we will get the top prize, we will say the worth and the pain was well worth it. That is what Swamiji tells us, okay? Because that prize is going to, and even the journey itself will start becoming so beautiful that we will be able to, relish that bliss, that we'll say that this is something that's the best thing we have started doing to ourselves. So it's not like that the prize itself will give you the bliss. The journey itself becomes very enjoyable. But we have to reject these temporary things that we fall for. And that is what Lord Krishna is saying. So just tolerate it. Understand this is temporary. This happiness that I'm trying to get, anyway, it's going to be temporary. Let me go for a higher, better lasting thing. And God says, now we are talking. All right.
Yeah, beautifully said, Nitinji. Akshata ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Akshata ji.
Yeah.
Hi, Radhe Radhe, everyone. I have 2-3 questions. I will just ask them. Here, something you are telling about the helping others, right? Sometimes we feel so helpless in helping others, and we want to help them, but we are not in a position to help them. It feels so sad for us. I don't know how to handle this thing. So this is one thing. And the other one is yesterday Shamji was telling about the car, right? The same thing has happened recently. I bought a fridge, but I'm not attached to it. When it comes, I'm not feeling wow, it has come also. And here I have, but for getting that, I should show some gratitude, right? And the attachment is not there. I'm not understanding how much gratitude I'm giving that gratitude in depth or not. Is my showing of gratitude is not correct? That question is there in me. So these two are my questions.
Yeah, so you can thank God that you enabled a new refrigerator for me, so that I can have fresh meals, so that I can feel fresh, and so that I can do sadhana with a fresh mind. So that way you can give gratitude to God. If it is enabling you in some way, which is actually helping you, one less headache to deal with in life, which that time can be spent into something better, right? Maybe listening to a good lecture or reading a book, as opposed to worrying about, okay, what will happen to my food. So he's enabling that convenience for you. Accept it, and with a silent gratitude that a lot of people don't even have that convenience. Thank you for enabling.
Yeah, but that intensity is not there. That's what I feel. So I just learned to live without the refrigerator only. Sometimes my daughter, she wanted this at any cost. I bought it, but I don't know how that intensity is there or not. I'm okay. I'm thanking them, but is it from the deep inside or not? I'm not understanding that. That confusion is there. I'm really showing it from the deep of my heart or not? Is it just like an okay, thank you, just for the sake of telling? I'm not understanding that.
If you spend your time contemplating about something, if you think about God, his leelas, or some piece of knowledge, that will be better contemplation, as opposed to contemplating upon how much gratitude you are feeling for that fridge or not, right? Because that's not a productive use of time. It has come to your life, that's fine. Simply accept it and move on. Spend your time on God, good knowledge, contemplation on knowledge on something worthwhile would be a better utilization of time rather than debating in your head too much about that refrigerator, because refrigerator will take space and that will not add value. Time is limited for us. So if at the end of the time you get an answer, hey, this refrigerator, this is what you did was right, then probably the time would have been lost. So I won't think too much about it. It has happened to you. It has happened. You're not attached, which is good. It's not something that you are thinking for. It happened. It happened. So what? If I hit a lottery, I will not start thinking rest of my life, why did it happen? How should I thank God? Should I thank God or not? That's not a good. It has happened. So that's fine. You accept it and move on and start thinking about how to spend our time so that it results in increasing devotion and love for God. I will not read too much into it. I mean, personally, if you ask me, maybe some participant have a better answer for that. Other part is helping others. See, the objective of our life, helping others is fine. But God has told us, aeroplanes, they tell us, you put on an oxygen mask before you try to help others. So the primary objective of our life, if you ask the goal of life, is God wants us to become the best version of ourselves. In the process, helping others is an helping aid, but that is not the whole purpose of our life. God says first to help yourself. Okay, we will not get a gold medal from God that, hey, you tried to help so many people and that's okay even if you felt helpless. I mean, you do the best that you can, but beyond a point, we don't make it a focal point or a goal of our life. Just stressing over this, whom I can help, because we ourselves need help. We have really not worked on ourselves. And God will be happy if we start working on ourselves more than worrying about helping rest of the world. But help as best as you possibly can. You will not stress over it beyond a point because it doesn't add much value. You are doing your best, you have an intention. Beyond that, what else can we do? It's an uncontrollable at that point.
Yeah, during that state, what I do, I'll just pray for them, and I'm not in a position. Please somehow reach the help, needed help to them. That's what the best thing I'm doing it right now. Sometimes I'm not in a position to help them. I know they need some help badly, but so at the time the best I think I can do is the praying them.
That's good enough. Think of it, expand your bubble, Akshataji. If you were to help, there are so many things which are not going right in this world. Why only to limit it to people whom you know then? Why not go to Africa?
No, when in front of me, if they are suffering or somewhere, some help they need it. So that time, if
understood. So I think the real understanding is it's a circle of outer which we don't control, and humility is an accepting the fact that we are limited in a lot of ways. Right? End of the day, we need to help ourselves, help others as best as we can, and have the noblest of intentions. But beyond that, the real goal of life is to work on ourselves, improve ourselves, and develop love and cultivate love for God. Anything that helps through that, go for it. If it is not, don't stress over it because it's not going to add much value. When the final analysis of our life would come, it will not add much value. It is said that life is a preparation and death is an examination. At that examination, the preparation that you have done in making your heart fertile for the love of God will count. Nothing else will count at that point.
Wow. Quite deep. Yeah. So Nitinji, I see a couple of new names as well. So I would like to go to give it to Nanik Bhagyaji.
Yes, Nanik.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, rest of all of you for waiting. Nanikji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
I'm talking about helping others, but you have to know that if you are helping the right people.
Yeah,
I give my example. I went to McDonald's and took a cup of coffee and went to my car. Some beggar asked me some money. So I opened my window and asked him, what do you want? First thing is that he took away my cell phone from my pocket. So in my car, I already started. So I went and tried to ask him, what do you want? $100, what do you want? Then in between, while I went there, his friend came and my car was already on. He just took away my car also. So I had no car, nothing. And then I had no phone to call even police. So I went inside the McDonald's. I asked him that my car has stolen, and the police guy came and he started writing reports only. I told him, this guy is running in the car, go after him. He said, no, my job is to take a report now. We will find him later on. So that you have to know the right people you are helping. I thought he's a beggar, I want to help him.
So,
So like that, there are many people, our organization will ask you to help. We are helping the poor people, and then they put the money in their pocket.
True. The patra matters. We did the whole session on that. Patra matters or not, because you get the result for the how the patra is for sure. Yeah, apparently in this situation, your sattva and his tamas had a big conflict there. But yeah, those kind of things can happen. We got to be careful around it as well. Thank you for that, Manik Bhai.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, and sorry about the incidents that happened.
Now even on somebody has stopped the car, you wanted to help him, I get scared, to stop my car and talk to him.
Yeah,
Just go away now. I don't even wait for him now.
Yep, these kind of things can actually be an eye opener at times for sure. So thank you for sharing that, Nanik Bhai. Sorry to hear that. But yeah, we got to be careful about the patra in which we are trying to help as well. Michael Jordan said the worst thing he did was when he started sharing his earnings with his relatives. Okay, that's the worst thing, because he was helping them. First of all, it capped their potential, what they could have done. Secondly, they started building expectations, and thirdly, a lot of them actually started doing bad things. So our focal point should be our noblest of intention as best as we can. But if we spend our entire life worrying about helping people while we have so much work to do on ourselves, it's like I have so much homework to do on myself and I'm worried about completing somebody else's homework. It's not a very smart use of time. We can help, obviously we cannot do that, but let's not lose the big picture of life. God has not sent us here to think about the world and worry too much about it. We have so many things to do on ourselves. And we can truly help somebody when we have uplifted ourselves. It is said the biggest charity is the charity of knowledge, where you can give a push to any soul. Even money finishes off. And that can only happen when we are working on ourselves. But we start worrying about the rest of the world, the politics and all those kind of agendas we start feeding to our head, which define our very existence, right, in life. Not a very smart use of time.
Yeah. Sandhya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. Thank you for waiting.
No problem. Radhe Radhe. This is like, so okay. So I mean, this is just repeating maybe the same thing, but in my way of understanding. So in this shloka, we have learned that we have to remember we are an instrument and we have to focus on the process and also give up the pride. So I think if we remember these three things, automatically this starts coming in. Like, so this is a two-step process. First, there is energy coming in, and then the second step, we have to decide how to use that energy, right? So if it turns out to be a good result, then we have to remember that it could not happen without that energy. So then pride will not come, and that the window concept will come in picture. But if it is bad result, then we have to also remember that it was our choice, which it was our free will. Because this point that you mentioned, that God can know and see it all, but we cannot. So it is us who can do mistakes, but God will never do, right? So for any mistake, it is we who have to be held responsible. So then that kind of start making sense.
Wonderful. You can create a small flow chart for that, and maybe I can put it together for you. Beautiful way of understanding it. Very true. It's like whenever something good is happening, obviously you have to give credit to where the source is coming from. Hand and tongue example. When something bad is happening, you have to understand there is another variable at play, the free will aspect of it, which is binding. That is where, because God will do only good things. If he were to take control of you and use you as an instrument or inspire you, then it is only because of his grace, his energy. But then our free will comes into picture, because we are still conditioned, we are still not fully surrendered. Obviously, we have to take accountability for that. So that's the right way of looking at it. Beautiful. You summed it up very nicely, Sandhya. Got it.
Yeah, thank you, Sandhya ji. Ajit ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. My query is that this presently war Russia and Ukraine is going on. So can we equate it just like Mahabharat, or and Putin is doing according to his free will, or it's God's will? How will you interpret in today's message?
See, it's a very, subjective question. All our scriptures tell us that we have to deal with adhyatmik, adhibhautik, and adhidevik things, right? Now, this is basically adhyatmik, where can happen, where some kind of a misery can be brought upon us by people around us, right? And Putin could be there as well. I don't know if he's playing in part of God's honi, or he's himself being operated under the mode of tamas, or whatever you want to call that. But these are bound to be, right? We don't have to read too much. If you go back 100 years, right, Ajit ji, even things were happening where people will say now world is going to come to an end, big war, this will happen, that will happen. These things will continue. This is the very nature of this material world. In every era, there are going to be some kind of challenges. We are not born in the era of 1940s, the Great Depression, where eating meals and survival used to be the order of the day. So every era has its own set of challenges. The point is we have to just understand the true nature of this world without letting it live in us, because it's not going to add value to us. World will be like this. Something or other will come up, and our mind.
My query is what is the role of God in this case? Just like a film director, he used to arrange everything and assign the roles.
No, he's not assigning the roles. He's just a spectator. Okay, he will give the results in due course of time. That's about it. He's not directing anybody, Putin, that you do this or you do that. Okay, he's simply going to give you the results of your action. And if your action is resulting in millions of people losing their lives, there are consequences in form of karma. Karma never misses its address. God is basically a perfect justice dispenser thing, right? This world is He has given to us. Now, what we do with it, all that stuff is our choice. And if we are motivated by vested interest, by lust for power and other things, then there are consequences.
But if suppose God is so powerful, then it will not leave it to only one person's massacre. This is such a big event cannot be left only for one person.
God controls it at a macro level, not at a micro level. So if it was such a big event that would bring Earth to a closure, the Kali to a closure, it will not happen. It is well within God's control. It is still going to remain for 4,32,000 years. We are barely 5,000 years into it. So it's not going to end. You cannot have a president come who will punch in nuclear codes, or a rocket man sending a missile which will turn this Earth into an ice age. Not going to happen. British Petroleum, it had a slick, big time slick. You can go and check it up on Google. It was such a bad slick. Slick means the leakage of oil. It happened. That scientists said that aquatic life will come to an end, and the repercussions of it are going to be catastrophic. It will take decades and decades to clean that. Now what happens? Some bacteria come magically. They eat that slick, and within a matter of few years, the ecosystem is restored. So at a macro level, where did those bacteria come from? How did they restore it so quickly, which scientists said could not be? We don't know. So at a macro level, world is perfectly under control. At a micro level, we have our free will, right? So we have a 10 feet rope, like they say. That 10 feet rope is being exercised by us, which has consequences. That is how the world will be. And it is called in our scriptures, it is Shashwat and Dukhalya. It is temporary and a place of misery. Now, who will contribute to that misery in one form and stuff like that, we don't know. It's just too complex for us to understand.
Yeah, thank you, Nitinji. I have posted the link of Swamiji's, the details of Swamiji's tour. The dates are April 30 through May 26. That is in East Coast. It is the important thing is it's free life transformation events in Pennsylvania, New York, Maryland, New Jersey, Virginia. Register now for blissful lectures, morning walks, question answer, and satsang with Swamiji. And it's like it's amazing. It's amazing event. Please do not miss it if you are nearby.
Thank you for sharing that, Pallaviji.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have time for more?
Yes, if I would request that we can go little, we can be little quick about that. So Asha ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you for waiting, Asha ji.
Yeah, it's okay. No problem. Due to some disturbance, I missed the discussion about the mirror and the window. So will you please, Nitinji, repeat it for me?
Okay, sure.
If it is convenient for you.
No worries. Yeah, I think it will be a good revision for me as well. So mirror and window means that when we do something good, right? Something good gets done through us. We look at the window. Basically, we give that credit to God. That it's only because of you, it happened, or you enabled me to do this. So we don't take the credit for that. Window means look outside or look at God. And mirror means when something bad happens, we look at the mirror, that it's me, because of me, my free will, I ended up doing it incorrectly, or something bad happened through my hands. We take responsibility for the bad things that happen, and we give credit to God when something good gets accomplished through us. That is mirror and the window.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So nice of you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Asha ji. Kumar ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji and Radhe Radhe everyone. So first I would like to wish Nitin ji a very successful wisdom tooth extraction. And I'm so glad that the wisdom is not in the wisdom tooth. So he'll be back in form next week with all his...
See, by giving me best wishes, you are making me nervous, okay? I'm not thinking too much.
Yeah, you have God in your thoughts, so you shouldn't have an issue with that.
See, the problem is they said they're going to give me a general anesthesia, so I cannot have God in my thoughts. I'll be fast asleep. So,
which is good,
local,
actually.
It's local anesthesia usually.
They are giving me general. I don't know why. So hopefully I'll wake up, because technically that is the only thing that separates, getting up and not getting up from living from the dead. So, but yeah, it's going to be general for a while. So
good luck then.
General is good, actually. I have been through that. You just wake up and it's like, oh, it's done. And then, they tell you to talk, and then you start talking gibberish, and then they work, whatever they do on it, and you're all done. So just don't forget to keep some painkillers, the special painkillers. It's called
narcotics.
Yeah.
Narcotics.
Yeah. You need that, because if you're in pain, you cannot rush to the emergency. So, or at least to avoid rushing to the emergency.
You're making me even more nervous now.
No, I'm wishing you good luck. So, and
it reminds me of the way Amitabh Bachchan went to, do the rishta of his friend. So
yeah.
You're making it very easy.
Exactly, I thought the same thing right now.
Sholay.
The Sholay, Rishta, Mausi Ji, that scene. Yeah.
No, I don't know how you drew a parallel to that, but anyways, no, I think mine is all good wishes. So,
but I've already asked the nurse there, has anybody died of this procedure? He said no, but there's always a first time. I said, thank you for the reassurance.
That's not a sign of a good nurse. Okay, so coming back to this topic, I saw, I heard several comments. Many times, I've had doubts in my mind and all that stuff. So I generally believe in a few things. It's really funny, like fake it till you make it, right? Sometimes you don't feel that kind of, let's say bhakti, or this one. Just keep doing it. Just believe in it, trust in it, of course, and also, when you keep on doing it, it just come to you. Like, basically, I've been out in and out of bhakti several times, but luckily with this, thanks to these Zoom sessions, it's been like a daily dose I'm getting, which is so useful for me.
Yeah, I think it's a privilege for bhakti to have you, right? You've been in and out of bhakti, so.
Absolutely. So the other thing is, when you talked about flowcharts, I was remembering this: why worry,
yes.
or don't worry, be happy, whatever we call it. Yeah. So it's like the question is, do you have an issue, right? If you don't have an issue, why worry? Because some people I've seen, if they don't have an issue, they feel very uncomfortable and they'll start worrying that they don't have an issue. So let's say you have an issue, then you say, is it in your area of control? So this is regarding the war in Russia and Ukraine, right?
Why worry?
So you don't have any control. So why worry? Hey, there is so much you can do, read Bhagavad Gita or something like that, right? So, so if it's not in your area of control, don't worry, right? So let's say it's in your area of control, then do you have a solution? If you don't have a solution, don't worry, right? And then if you have a solution, implement it. You implement it, it's successful. If it's not successful, don't worry. It's God's design. So that's how I look at it.
Very true. If you think about hurry, you don't worry. And
yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I'll write it down myself.
To get rid of worry. Okay. So that is how it is. And secondly, that reminds me of a joke that there's a guy who comes and says, hey, he introduces his wife and he said, does she do anything? He said, yeah, she's in the manufacturing business. He said, what does she manufacture? He said, she manufactures worries. So we can get into that business as well. Need to stay away from that business because our mind gets into that habit, right? You start manufacturing worries and you get, like you rightly said, sometimes you get worried that there is no worry because your mind is used to getting worried. So great point, Kumarji. All right, we can quickly take.
Thank you, Kumarji. Yeah, thank you for waiting, Padmaji.
Yes, Padmaji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. About the patta thing, right? And this is how I see it. The very biggest thing in the universe, any universe for that matter, and the very lightest thing and very smallest thing, like even an ant or a leaf, everything is energized by God. So that's how I see it, and probably somewhere along the line, people might interpret that the falling of a leaf is energized by God. So our actions are also done by God. Done by God and energized by God is like two different things. He's also energizing the leaf to fall. He's also energizing us to do what we are able to do through his energy. But what we have as human beings is the discriminatory power that God has given us, which nobody has, no animal has.
Yep,
so that is the biggest blessing that we got from God out of all the so many species which are on the face of the earth. That discriminative power of what you do, what you think, and how you do is in our capacity. And that's how I see that example of the leaf. We are created by God for God. We are perfectly positioned the way that we are supposed to be positioned, in the way that where we are positioned and how we are supposed to be positioned. And our job is to penetrate through the depths of our soul and to understand ourselves deep down so much that we understand our soul. Why? Because soul is nothing, the purest form, right? It's nothing but just the piece of God. We are the part of the God. So as we try to penetrate the depths of our soul and penetrate through ourselves and try to understand who the true nature of ourselves is, this is how you're showing God. And the purpose that God has given you is to serve him. And the way that we are serving him is to deepestly where God is, and we are penetrating through, those layers with his help. And you're begging him to give that energy, the energy that God has given. But what we're really begging is to use that energy in a proper way. And the third thing that I want to say is, if this can make any analogy easier, in our body, we have something called mitochondria. These very, very, very small organelles present in each cell. Mitochondria makes the energy, but it doesn't decide what we do with that energy, right? So he's giving us the energy, but we have the discriminatory power to use that energy. And we cannot say, we cannot reject our samskaras because it came with us. But what we can reject is how we use the samskaras to better ourselves with the energy that God has given, because he has given us that discriminatory power.
Beautiful. Very true, Padmaji. I think you summed it up very nicely. A leaf or an animal or any other species is not bestowed with that discriminatory power or that free will. They are scripted to act in a certain way. We have been given, and it is said, to whom much is given, much is expected to. And whether you like it or not, it's a Bible word thing. It says, to whom much is given, much is expected. So with great power comes great responsibility. And it is a huge power God has given us in terms of discrimination. And that is what we need to put to good use. Mitochondria analogy was beautiful. In fact, right? And when we are growing up, every second thing kids say by God. So everything we are saying by God only. Remember, like we use that thing.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay.
I saw Rahulji's hand raised and Shyamji's and
Radhaji.
Perhaps Shrutiji. No, Swatiji, I think. So Rahulji, do you have still?
I see Radhaji's hand as well.
Radhaji.
Yes, Radhaji.
Please go ahead,
Rahul, and then I think we can wrap it up.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji. So my question is, say we say when we get in touch with the Guru, the time has to come. So either when we follow the spiritual path or when we follow a Guru, at the right time only we get that contact also. So when we get that contact and we are traveling towards that path, we have people closely associated with us who do not get that contact, or even though they get that contact, they do not realize. So by our ways of the path in spirituality, probably there is a chance for us to realize God or to destroy our previous karma, and maybe we can complete our life this birth. But does God destine in such a way that those people who haven't realized the Guru or the God, do they have a rebirth again? So has God destined in the beginning itself that they will have a rebirth? Because we say it's time that the Guru comes, no? So in case they do not realize, they do not get that vision or they do not understand that. So without that knowledge, when they keep on traveling, do they forcefully fall into a rebirth? And is this destined by God?
Yeah, rebirth is decision by God. When only God knows. When you say rebirth, we have to get into we are not going to be in a suspended state. Either we go into a species or we get a human birth. God only decides that. He has that algorithm to know in formula. Maharaji used to say that if you have spent 50% or more of your life in spirituality, then you may have a back-to-back human birth. But other than that, there is no guarantee. Secondly, let's say we are born as a human and we had reached a point. I'm just putting a scale, 8. Okay, scale 8 of pious deeds or spiritual bank balance. And we were supposed to meet a Guru when we become 10. So if we do it in this, through our free will, through our Kriyaman, if we reach 10, we meet a Guru. When the disciple is ready, Master appears. And if we just finish this life in 9, then as and when we get a rebirth as a human, then we get an opportunity to meet that Guru. But the rule is you have to reach a certain threshold or a baseline before the Master will appear. Otherwise, it will not appear. Otherwise, you'll have to wait for your next human life. And in some cases, I also feel that's my theory, okay, on the lighter side. You get a Black Friday sale also, where people like me get picked up, like Maharaji, okay, where you have not done much, but something happens and you start on this path. That can possibly happen in Kripa avatars of God. But other than that, yes, we have to reach a certain threshold and then the Guru will come. If we don't meet that, anyway, we're going to come as a human. When only God knows. And then when we reach that point, the Master will come again. And this association with Master is across lifetimes. Master does not leave us until we are across this ocean. That kind of a beautiful relationship is there with Guru. Guru is not one lifetime association where he gives a Guru mantra and the job is done. No, it's a across lifetime association. Either that Guru will come in his personal form or he will meet you through some other person, but the message will be so transparent that it will immediately cut through your heart and that association will immediately be formed. That is how it goes. But yes, you are right, Radhaji. We have to reach a certain point and then the Master would appear. And if we cannot finish it in this life, let's say we could not accrue much spiritual merit because we were supposed to get at least 2 points and we did not because of our free will, then obviously we have to wait for another rebirth as human. Maharaji has a beautiful lecture on that. Actually, I heard that. It is said when you meet your Guru, then it's like, let's say you reach 10. That means you got the result of that 10. Immediately your testing, it's like you will, because you have exhausted that merit, now you have to work hard a little bit more. You may not feel that inspiration or other things will start happening because you got the result in form of a Guru. then you have to start working even harder. That inspiration may go away and other things happen, and then you have to earn it. And once you do that, and then you are on a cruise control after that. Great question, Radhaji. Hopefully it answered a part of it for you.
If we can take a quick question from Urvi.
Yes, sure. It's going to be a tough one for sure.
Yeah, Guru is compassionate for us, or does he feel pity for us?
It's compassionate. Guru is actually, they understand, okay? They understand where we're coming from, because they can only do kripa, and they do understand where we are positioned. There are afflictions, the struggles, they understand it, everyone. And in fact, Guru is actually serving us. This relationship is so beautiful that he's even fighting with our prarabdha. He's even fighting with our, not prarabdha, sanskars, just to keep us on course. And sometimes he may be testing us as well. So it is all born out of compassion, and material compassion and spiritual compassion are two different things. Material compassion can result in pity, but Guru actually sees it. It's purely based out of love. We don't have the ability to do love. We can pity somebody, but Guru's only thing Guru and God can offer us is kripa and love. That is everything that they do is born out of these emotions. And there's a difference between material and spiritual compassion. They are operating out of spiritual compassion. We did a session on that. Maybe we can revisit that.
Beautiful. I don't see any hand raised, Nitinji. No.
Rahul, you wanted to have a lasting word or two prayers?
I have a, yeah, Radhe Radhe Rahulji, please go ahead.
Just wanted to say Radhe Radhe, and the doctor and the nurse whom will be operating on you, Shri Krishna is sitting in their heart also. Yeah.
I'm not thinking too much about it. Yeah. So thank you so much for your wishes. Yes, Ashaji, you had something real quick?
Just heartiest best wishes for you and something surgery is going on you. And I don't know about the illness, but whatever it will go, and you have that great inner strength, Nitinji, and then God will always yoga kshemam vahamyam. We have all that faith, and my best wishes and blessings to you for your speedy recovery and everything.
Thank you, Ashaji. It's a minor thing. I'm not reading too much. It's all the best wishes are giving me, kind of a feeling as if I'm going to a war, but it's going to be a small thing. It's just a precautionary measure I'm taking because I was told there might be swelling and it might be difficult, for a few days. So just as a precaution, I'm saying let's not do session, because if I pull it out at the last minute, then it will not be nice. So I said, let's take a break. And like I said, you'll have enough people here who will keep you entertained tomorrow for sure, sending something or other. So
many other devotees are also wishing you all the best for you.
Thank you. All right, we can do our
so we can move on for the closing prayers. Please post your questions in the feedback tracker if we missed to take your questions.
Yeah, it's too late, so we need to let Pallaviji go. So you can put your question in the feedback tracker. Let's do our closing prayers. Who wants to do that?
Manishji wanted to do, I think.
Sure, Manishji, please
I
go
think
ahead.
he is not here now. Go ahead, Ashutoshji.
Yes, Ashutoshji.
You got the opportunity. Go ahead.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Shantu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukh Bhag Bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day and a blissful rest of your week ahead. I'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, Nitinji, for awesome classes, awesome session, and all the discussions were very enriching. So
yes, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you for the opportunity, like always. Radhe Radhe.
yeah, all the best, Nitinji, for your dental surgery, and everyone have a blessed day and very blessed evening. Good night.
Right.
Radhe.
Bye. Radhe Radhe.